Hey viewers, if you want your stories, experiences of infidelity, breakup, cheating, to be narrated and get featured to others in our Mr. Cool's Planet community, feel free to submit your stories to the mail given in description. Either way, please don't forget to subscribe if you like the channel. Let's go.
Hey there, welcome to Mr. Cool's Planet. This is a place where we dive deep into the world of relationships, discussing everything from heartbreak to everlasting love. Our aim is to create a welcoming and non-judgmental community where we can share our experiences and grow together. Thank you for tuning in. Let's begin the show. Story 1. I 30M caught wife 31F being unfaithful a couple years ago. So I'm going to try and explain the best I can in hopes to get advice. I'm a 30M and my wife is 31F. A little backstory first. I met my wife in high school and we got together and were happy. We've been together for 14 years and have been married for 12 years. After we got married we had 3 beautiful children, 12F, 8F, and 7 meters. A couple years ago I started noticing that wife got pretty distant and acting weird. Before this I had some bedroom kinks while we would have sex. She became distant and act weird and I knew this BC we've been together so long. Anyways, one night while she was sleeping I had this itching feeling to take her phone, so I did. I checked messages, nothing, and then I check FB Messenger and this is where my heart sank to my stomach. I found conversations with her friend about a guy who I will call Jack. She would talk about how I was in the bedroom and all my secrets. I feel as though whatever goes in the bedroom should stay there. Well, apparently she took a fantasy one had and decided to act on it in real life behind my back. This went on for months and at some point she met up with Jack. Her friend was disapproving of it, by the way. So I wake her up, mind you that it was maybe 3 a.m. to confront her and she said nothing other than sorry. I couldn't get it all out of her at once, but she admitted that she'd met up with Jack once, but I find that hard to believe. Anyways, I tell her that she needs to block Jack and she did. I was all over the place as my emotions got the best of me. I said go ahead and continue as you would normally and she didn't hesitate to re-add him as a friend. I got mad at this. She said that he's a good friend and she didn't want to lose him. So days passed and I decided to try to make it work if she tells me everything. Which she told me a lot, but to this day I feel as though she's held back on the details. I guess the question I have are, what do I do? I feel that more happened as this went on for months. If you fast forward to now, she is back to being cold towards me and yells every day that I come back in and it's eating away at my soul. Did she tell me everything before? Did she cheat more than that? Am I stupid for believing her? Is it possible that I should be worried some of the kids aren't mine? And is she doing it again? Any help would be appreciated, thanks. Brother. I'm sorry to hear about the situation you're going through. Infidelity can be a very painful experience for the person who has been betrayed, and it's understandable that you're feeling a lot of conflicting emotions right now. Firstly, it's important to remember that the decision of what to do next is ultimately yours. It's your life and your relationship, and you are the best judge of what is right for you. I wish you all the best as you work through this difficult time. Story 2. My wife cheated on me and I couldn't be happier. Where to begin? I 26M have been married to my wife 26F Lana, fake name obviously, for 8 years now. I met her 16 years ago in elementary school. We started dating in middle school and slept together for the first time in high school. In our young minds, we thought we were absolutely in love, nothing would tear us apart. I grew up in Georgia as a Baptist, where there's a kind of weird Christian attitude about sexuality and all that. I dunno, I've never really been religious, and neither has my wife. We didn't really care, but my parents did. They always got on my back that if I was having sex with this girl, I had to marry her. Her parents weren't as strict about it, but essentially I was forbidden from seeing her. My parents told me at 17 that I would be kicked out of the house if I didn't marry Lana. Looking back now, I don't think they would have gone through with leaving me on the streets for not breaking up with a girl, I'm pretty sure they were trying to manipulate me into living the life they wanted for me. So, we got a courtroom marriage. Her parents were cool with it, they had 3 kids to a room and were glad to have more space in the house. We always talked about having a real wedding one day, but with everything going on in life, we just never got around to it. I got to be married at 18 to the love of my life, and still got to finish high school and live with my parents. Since then, I've gotten a lot of therapy. I've realized just how horrible it was for my parents, religious or not, to force their own child to get married so that he wouldn't disappoint Jesus by having sex with one person. It's not like I was even trying to follow any of their other standards. Let's fast forward to the present day. A few years later we moved out into our own dingy little apartment. I got a job apprenticing to a plumber to pay rent, but neither me or Lana could afford school, and my dad was only willing to pay if I went to a church college or something. I've considered it many times, but it's whatever. Eventually, I kind of just stopped loving Lana. It's not that she stopped being physically attractive to me or anything, it's just that over the years she did basically nothing. She never got a job, she never did work around the house, most days she would just play video games, smoke weed with me, and then we'd pass out or have sex. She didn't cook, didn't clean, hell I even had to do the laundry after work at midnight some nights, just so I'd have something to wear in the morning. I felt trapped. I wanted to divorce her, so badly. I talked to her about changing, so many times that I feel like I had the same conversation over and over and over. She'd get a job and quit after a month. She'd cook 3 meals in an entire week and then stop for months. These aren't things you find out about a woman in high school. So we started to get a little distant. Sex reduced to once a month if that. We didn't even hang out most nights. When I'd come home, she'd be sleeping or way too baked to hold a decent conversation with. In the morning she would go to Starbucks for a coffee and some other baked goods. Sometimes she'd get something for me, sometimes not. Why didn't I divorce her? Well, honestly, it was just about alimony. I could barely afford to pay rent as it is, but divorcing her I know she'd get some kind of share of the money I already have an issue keeping. With everything about my parents, I wasn't willing to move in with them, so I just felt trapped where I was. I know of too many stories where people will get a divorce and have to pay alimony for the rest of their lives, and that just seems like too much for me to handle. One day while out on the job, I had a panic attack because of everything going on and decided to go home early. I live 5 minutes away from where I was working. I texted Lana on the way home that I would be there soon. Lana answered the door in her lingerie, nearly out of breath. Well, that was suspicious already, but there was no one in the apartment so I didn't think anything of it immediately. Thought maybe she was having some alone time, and the lingerie helped her get in the mood or something. But that night it ate at me. I didn't voice any concerns to her, I just let it eat away at me. The next morning I called in sick without telling Lana, drove off, and snuck back to our apartment complex. I watched our apartment until I saw a Jeep roll up and a man walked out. He walked up to our first floor apartment, and Lana opened the door and let him in. This wasn't a man I'd ever seen before, but I knew what was going on. I went into my apartment, burst into the bedroom to see them already naked with each other, and took some photos. Ignoring her cries, I packed up a bag with any clothes I could find, and I left. Why am I happy about this? I live in Georgia, where adultery is considered a crime. No alimony for cheaters. I felt like I had the entire world ahead of me as I drove away. I know I need a lawyer, I know I need to cover my tracks, and all of that. She doesn't use Reddit so she won't see this, but man. Sometimes it's good to be cheated on. Update. First off, I've already been meeting with a lawyer about everything. She says the case is pretty cut and dry, and I should be able to get away without any alimony as long as I present the "this affair killed my marriage" attitude about it. She's helping me draft up divorce papers now. I also saw a doctor and I'm currently awaiting test results for STDs and STIs. Doctor thinks they'll come back negative based on lack of symptoms, but you know how it is. Onto the good stuff. When I drove away my phone was ringing like crazy. Obviously I didn't answer it, I didn't want to hear from her. I called up a friend of mine. Grew up going to the same church as him, great guy, currently working on becoming a pastor for the church I used to go to with him. I told him everything, and he invited me to stay with him until the whole thing is settled. He's also encouraging the divorce, telling me I need to take it easy for a while. I didn't block Lana on anything. I'd usually just let the phone ring about a dozen times in an hour and then move on with my day. I've been applying for jobs all over the world, because honestly I just want to get out of here. I honestly have no idea what I want to do with my life anymore, cause before all I did was just to make money to support myself and Lana financially. Never really thought about a life without her until now tbh. Of course, a few fantasies here and there in passing, but nothing like definite. I really like animation, though. Maybe that. IDK. About 3 days later, I caved. I answered the phone during one of Lana's many attempts to contact me. We spoke on the phone for a few hours about, well, everything. Life, our lives together, etc. I kept up the impression that I'm just a heartbroken man who wants to end the marriage because she cheated and for no other reason, but the conversation went a little deep. Honestly, there really is part of me that still loves this woman from the bottom of my very soul. Most of my life has been spent with her, and it's just kind of over, you know. She told me about the guy after I hesitantly asked. He was just a random guy she met on a hookup app. Her depression was starting to border on suicidal, and she thought that if she cheated it might bring some excitement back into her life. She admitted that it did for the first couple of times, but after that it grew just as stale as the rest of her life. It was over 3 months that she cheated with random guys, always with protection, and she would usually get an STD test after moving on to the next guy. I'm still very happy she did what she did so I could move on with my life, but I feel like I've failed as a husband completely. She told me she thinks she failed as a wife and doesn't blame me for wanting a divorce after this. Lana said after a few days she's going to move out of the apartment so that I can move back in, since I'm the one paying for it. It's been years since her parents were overwhelmed with too many kids in the house, so she's going to move back in with them, and start over on her life, too. I can say I'm still happy about everything going on. I'm looking forward to the future, and I'm happy to still be young in this situation, and I'm happy that my financial status will be okay for the foreseeable future. But this person who was my best friend, closest confidant, and who my entire life was devoted to, is just gone. My life feels completely empty, more than it did when I was with her. I'm going to reach out to a therapist again, get this all sorted in my head before I maybe leave the country. Crazy thought in my head is that maybe in a few years if Lana can get her shit together, I could go back to her. Try again with her. But for now, I'm going to live a single life. I'm not going on any dates with any women for a long time. It's going to be hard enough having to learn how to even do that. Thanks for everyone who gave advice and was offering support in Mr. Cool's Planet. Man. I'm glad you're still happy. That post-incident conversation can seriously make us rethink things that we are certain of. I would advise you to help her find support for her depression, but do it from a distance. She needs help, and you need to distance yourself. Just let her know that things would probably be better as friends over time. Emphasis on over time. This lets you distance yourself, which you absolutely need. Story 3. My wife 27F had an emotional affair after deciding she was unhappy in our marriage. I 28M don't know how to move forward. We have been together 4.5 years. Sometime in September last year my wife started talking to a coworker 30-ish M, he is also married, about their relationship issues I didn't know existed. This led to a close friendship, where she would go to his place after work to work out while I was at work. She works the overnight and I work day shift. This made me a little uncomfortable, but she doesn't have any other friends and I wanted to be excited for her, so I pretended to be okay with it. Fast forward to October, and I walk into the room to find my wife quickly hiding her phone from me. I ask why and she reluctantly shows me her search history displaying marriage counseling. This is the first real issue that has been brought to our attention in our relationship in 4 years, yay us. She mentions she felt like she was getting something from her new friendship that was missing in our marriage. At this point, I panicked. I knew this was an emotional affair, and a potential end to our marriage, and I was sporadic. She had sent thousands of messages to this coworker in the last month and I asked her to block him and cut ties. She decided that was controlling and she wasn't going to. We attend a counseling session and schedule another a month out. Fast forward November, I notice an email in her inbox. I have her account on my phone because we share for Pokemon Go, from a divorce lawyer. We have not even attended our second counseling session at this point and I feel she has given up on the marriage without even trying. I confront her and she agrees to try to work on things for 6 months. Or at least she tells me we will work on things. She secretly intended on divorcing me when I graduate, more on that later. Okay, so now I believe we are working on things. I am giving her attention, but nothing seems to be changing. She lies to me several times about where she is and what she is doing when she is actually with the coworker. This shows me the emotional affair is still full continuing. Fast forward January, our 2-year anniversary approaches and we have a trip to Vegas planned. She hasn't lied to me, or so I believe, in over a month now. We are looking through our credit card statements and I notice a transaction from her coworker's place of employment on a day she assured me she wasn't at his work previously. The next day I find another chat app on her phone. She had previously been using Snapchat's disappearing messages as a means to talk to this coworker, and I confront her about this hiding and lying. I tell her I feel like I am the only one working on our marriage and that she hasn't told me the real reason our marriage was failing. This is the night before our anniversary trip. She comes clean and admits that she never felt like anything was missing in our marriage, but that she and her coworker had identified emotional abuse coming from me. Finally, the truth. Okay, we talk, do some research and agree that there has definitely been signs of emotional abuse, a likely cause of an emotional affair. We agree that we are going to work on things for real now. Our trip goes amazing and when she gets back she talks to her coworker about how the dynamic has changed and she doesn't want to talk negatively about me anymore. Things are going great. We are seeing a new counselor. She is very helpful, and everything is going well. Except she still talks to the coworker, who is now going through a divorce. Shocker, I know. Fast forward present day. I can't stop feeling like our marriage has reached the best it can get as long as her friendship with this guy continues. We have been doing much better, but she refuses to abandon this guy amidst a divorce as he has expressed signs of severe depression, possibly suicidal. I personally can't feel comfortable with her having any connection to him, and when I talk to this she tells me she feels like nothing she does is enough. She cites that she has stopped using Snapchat. Their conversations are never about our marriage anymore, and that she talks to him less and has been showing me great love, which is all true. I just feel like in order for us to continue to grow that first this connection to the third party needs to be cleanly cut off entirely. I don't think I can be happy in our marriage as long as this other man is in our lives. The question: what do I do next? End the marriage? Give an ultimatum? Tell her she can support this guy for now but I want a clean cut later? That's currently the arrangement. Or tell her she needs to refer him to a trained professional and stop being his support. Dude, listen. Trying to control your wife, including an ultimatum, will lead to her being resentful and likely being dishonest with you. If the situation doesn't work for you, make sure your wife knows this, and it sounds like she already does. And if the situation doesn't change, then you should seriously consider leaving the marriage. But as long as the two of you are interested in salvaging the marriage, and you are both going to therapy, then there may be hope for the relationship. And that's a wrap for today's story. Thanks for tuning in and being a part of our community. If you have a story to share or would like to offer support to others, don't hesitate to drop a comment below. Always remember that you're not alone, and we're all in this together. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell to stay up to date with our latest stories. Until next time, take care of yourself and keep pushing forward.